What is up, YouTube? Welcome to another video. I'm Brandon from Tattooing 101 if you didn't already know that. Today I'm going to show you how to tattoo a perfect tattoo. What I mean by that is make sure your line work's on point, all your shading looks really good. That's what makes a perfect tattoo. So we're going to break down and I'm going to show you exactly how to do those things. If you're new to this channel, make sure you like and subscribe down below and even hit that little bell notification so you can be updated whenever I make new videos. So let's get into the tattoo.
So let's get into tattooing a perfect tattoo. So the three key things that you want to focus on before starting your tattoo would be, is the stencil good? You want to make sure you have a solid stencil before jumping onto your tattoo, or you won't have any idea of what to follow with your tattoo. Jumping on from there is your line work. Your line work is what holds everything together when it comes to a tattoo. Obviously, if you're doing realism, it'll be your shading and things like that. But for a traditional tattoo design, your line work needs to be on point or you'll be able to clearly see all the mistakes that you make. And then from there, you could jump on to your shading. Is it smooth? If it's traditional, do you have nice pepper shading the whole way through? Are the dark areas where they need to be? Are the light areas where they need to be? Can you see skin tone? These are the things that contribute to a perfect tattoo. So let's get into it. I'm using a 14 round liner by Quadrin and I'm running my machine at an 8. And as always, you want to make sure you're putting Vaseline down before you jump into tattooing or your stencil's going to smear everywhere and you're not going to have any idea what you're doing. So let's get into it. So you want to focus on having the appropriate depth the whole way through your tattoo. So just getting consistent and staying that way throughout the whole tattoo is what's going to make you have great line work. The biggest key point when it comes to your lining is making sure you're following your stencil. That's why we use stencils, so we know exactly where the lines need to go. If you do not follow your stencil, you're going to have issues with lines not matching up or the design looking distorted. So make sure you're following all of your lines. Also, when trying to make a perfect tattoo, you want to make sure that you're using all of the fundamentals that you need, you know, being able to do whip shading, pendulum shading, completely saturating an area. There's all of these things that you need to know before trying to jump in and tattoo a design like this. So definitely follow the steps. Don't just think that you could jump onto something like this and be able to do it if you're first starting out. You're just going to get discouraged and have issues. So practice on the fundamentals, and I promise before long, you'll be tattooing designs like this with no problem. Another thing I like to do whenever I am, working with designs like this is picking fun things that I enjoy doing, like Harry Potter or like anime themed things or Lord of the Rings. Those are all things that I really enjoy. So it keeps, everything fun. Because normally, I tattoo on humans and I'm doing all sorts of designs. So when I tattoo on fake skins, I like to choose something that, is something that I normally wouldn't do. Just to keep it fun and exciting. I feel like I should definitely make an infinity sign video for all you guys, since you'll be tattooing, 6,000 infinity signs in your life, I'm sure. That was a joke, by the way. You could just practice your fundamentals and be able to tattoo an infinity sign with no problem. It's little things like this that's going to make your tattoo look really great. So instead of just completely saturating these lines right here, what I did was whip out the end. So when I go back in with shading, it's not a perfect stopping point. I could go back in and do perfect shading up against it, and it'll transition really well. Yeah, it wouldn't happen if I did a perfect stopping point with that line and just kind of like went up the whole way and then just lift it up. Another thing about tattooing everything as perfect as physically possible is anytime that you are tattooing, you know, if you are a beginner or something like that, you want to make sure that you are printing off your design, so the line work of this design, and filling it in with shading. So what you do is go in with pencil and shade your tattoo. So that way, when you go in with your mag, that's not the first time that you've shaded this tattoo. You've done it with pencil and you know exactly where everything needs to go. And you could use that as a reference when you are actually going in to tattoo the design as well. So now we go through, look at all our line work, make sure everything's matched up perfectly and everything's saturated exactly how we want. Obviously this line's lighter, but that's how we want it. I didn't want to have that perfect stopping point like we talked about up here, because it's going to go into the shading and we could just whip that out to have it transition really nicely into there. So now we're going to get into our shading. I'm going to be using a standard 11 curved mag. So that is a 1211 CM. Now we're going to work with some gray wash. I always start out with my black and do all my areas to where I want it really nice and saturated, completely black, and transition out, and then I always go in with my lighter gray washes from there. So in this piece, the only really dark areas is going to be where that fold is, down here a little bit, and also in the eyes. And the mouth, obviously. This is why I said that you really need to get used to tattooing in every different way before jumping into the actual pieces, because you know I'm using whip shading, some pendulum shading, some saturation, you know, using my little circles going into these areas, and you have to have really good mag control to be able to do this. So practicing all of these things and going through the drills needed to build up all the muscle memory to do these things is going to greatly benefit you when it comes to, you know, tattooing in the future. Okay, now that we have all the really dark areas where we want them, clean it off really good and then go into the lighter shading. This is my 6 drops, so I always go straight black, 6 drops, 3 drops. If I'm doing more realistic things, I'm going to go straight black, then 10, 8, 6, 3, and then straight water. But with a design like this, I like to stick to my 3 caps. I know exactly what shade they're going to be. And on fake skin, it always shows up a little bit darker. So I always use my 3 drop a little bit more just because it also, like I just said, shows up darker into the fake skins. If this was human skin, you wouldn't have that issue. Just going through and doing some whip shading. This is a traditional design, so I definitely want to have those mag markings in there. That's what you're looking for when it comes to traditional style tattoos. So I'm not trying to be super smooth with it. I don't want my gray wash to, you know, transition really nicely. You want to be able to see those little pepper marks in the tattoo. Doing some pendulum shading right here. I'm just going through here and learning all the shading techniques that we have learned and picked up on, and just implementing them into an actual tattoo. This is also why shading in your actual design first will help you out a ton, so you can just look over your design and see exactly where your shading needs to go. Just like this little mark where the hat folds a little bit right there. If you already did this design, you know exactly where that needs to go. Even if your stencil rubs off, you'll know where that needs to go. This is where I'm going to transition out these lines to where they go smoothly into the actual tattoo. Now we'll clean it off and see what we got. Going through our line work, making sure that our line work is on point, and then going through our shading, knowing we have all our super saturated areas where they need to go, and then our transitions into our skin tone. And this is how we create a perfect tattoo. Follow the steps, practice how you need to, going through all the fundamentals first, and then when you do jump into tattooing designs like this, you'll be ahead of the game. I hope this was able to help you guys out, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Have a good day.